So here we are together. Happy to be here. I want to thank the World Music Institute for giving us this opportunity and creating this platform for us global musician artists to be able to share our vision. We are happy tonight to share about the process of this Folk and Futurism project initiated by Argentinian singer Sofia Rei, and also the upcoming show the premiere, the world premiere, should we say, that's happening next week on the 10th of October at Le Poisson Rouge in New York City. So I will briefly introduce myself. My name is JC, short for Jean-Christophe Maillard. I am from the island of Guadeloupe in the Caribbean. So I'm myself what you could call a world musician. Actually, I like to say, since the term of world music was coined in the early 80s and the whole phenomenon started in Paris, where I happened to be at that time a very young musician, I consider myself first generation world musician, because what happened then and what happens for us, and I guess also for a younger generation of musicians, we've learned from each other from across the world with new technology and communication, and also at the time being at the right spot at the right moment, learning from each other, our traditions, our music, make it our own. Back in the day in Paris, a lot of musicians like myself were playing on a lot of African records. We've exchanged a lot of information with a lot of different communities. So without further ado, I would want to introduce the creator of the Folk and Futurism project that we're presenting tonight, the amazing Sofia Rei.
Hello, everybody. We're so happy to be here. Thank you, Bryce and Gabby and the World Music Institute for this space and also for presenting the project. I have been making all kinds of music throughout my life. I started in classical music. I wanted to be an opera singer. At some point, I realized that that was not really what I wanted to do. I started exploring vocal improvisation, and I got really interested in jazz for many years. That brought me here to the US, where I actually started connecting more and more with musicians that were exploring connections between Latin music from different parts of Latin America, but in particular from South America. These connections of South American music and especially researching folk music, particularly in Argentina, in Colombia, in Uruguay, in Peru, it started to also become part of my musical DNA and the kind of resources that are part of my compositions. And at the core of all my projects, even though I delved into many different styles, folk music was kind of at the center, was the heart of it all. And this is not really the exception. This project started because I started seeing so many talented female artists doing something new, doing something different, bringing exciting crossovers of roots music from all over Latin America, Pan-American crossovers, but also their connection to electronic music, to neo soul, to jazz, to contemporary pop or independent pop, indie pop, R&B. And I started to get really excited about this music and its connections or potential connections. And I thought, wouldn't it be great to somehow create a little platform to bring us together? And I thought to record an album, thought of recording an album and having them as guests or collaborators or both. And this is how it all started with, honestly, some of my heroes that are here today, Daymé, Mireya, Gabi, Charo, and some other incredible artists you're gonna meet on Thursday. And we started recording an album in the process that hopefully will be released in the spring next year. But Today we have some little snippets to share with you of the songs that we did in collaboration with this amazing, amazing artist. And yes, I would like for them to share a little bit of their own story. These are super talented creators. And besides being recognized as some of the most incredible, most innovative artists on the Latin scene, in the Latin scene right now, they are teachers, they are cultural ambassadors, they are female goddess empowered and fighting for the right cause. And I admire them very much for that too. We always get involved in deep conversations because we also realize we share some of the struggles of being part of this complex ecosystem of the music industry as independent artists, complex ecosystem in general in the world, just because we are women and we have to fight in a different way for our positions, for our places, for occupying some spaces. And this was really one of the most beautiful aspects of actually creating this music. It was not only the music, but it was really to be able to share with them some stories and some ideas and some potential, possibilities of change. I hope that we will continue to have those. And I just want to get to know them and get to hear them also sooner than later, a little bit of the music. So Daymé, I would love for you to tell these lovely humans here on the other side of the screen a little bit about your story.
Well, first of all, I feel so blessed and so honored to be surrounded by these amazing musicians. Probably I'm not that young, but probably in this room, I'm like the younger generation of female singer-songwriters. We always have been fighting for getting our voices out there and making people knowing that we can do more than just singing. I believe, singing, of course, is a huge power, but we also have something to say. Not always people want to hear what we have to say. So I love to be surrounded by women that they fight for the right to be heard, not just as a beauty that can present a song written by a man, but also a woman that has something to share with the world. So I met these beautiful individuals like Mireya and Sofia in this journey as part of my own journey. So it's lovely to see other women beside you when you are in some industry environments that sometimes are not that welcoming and and yeah, welcoming for women like us.
Right.
So it's important to have people beside that you know that they are going to hold your back when it is necessary. My life as a singer-songwriter coming from Cuba has interesting stuff that maybe you don't find in other stories. First of all, because coming out from a communist country, that industrialization is not something allowed in our country. So when I talk about we don't have music industry, it doesn't mean that we don't have music. We do have a lot of music. Everybody knows about Cuban music probably, but we don't have the industrialization, like that specific part that make us connecting with other people around the world and sharing our music in different platforms, like, I don't know, Spotify, all of that. So when I left the island 5 years ago, was interesting for me to find out how I could be part of the industry. Now is my new journey as an immigrant is also discovering how music and industry can live together because not always music is the main reason of the industry, which is a weird thing for me to process and understand coming from where I'm coming from. So I sometimes when I am in these industry environments, it's lovely to look around and see women that are fighting for music, that they are looking for making sure that music is still the main thing of the industry. And now that I feel more in place as a singer-songwriter in Latin America. I just released a new album that is called Alchemy, and this new album is the first album I make as part of the industry, let's say. That's the reason why I met these beautiful women, and probably that's why I'm sitting here today. So I really appreciate the opportunity, and I want to say thank you for that.
Thank you, Daymé. Amazing. Go ahead, JC.
Well, now I want to introduce Mireya, that I had the very pleasure to be in the studio with. Unfortunately, Daymé, the day you were recording with Sofia, I was not there. So, Mireya, I didn't have the time to ask you all these questions, like where you come from and what's your background. So, can you introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you, JC. Thank you, Daymé, Sofia, and for this opportunity to share our music or story, and for putting us together, because I feel like one of the most beautiful things about music is this example of people coming together. We all come from different backgrounds. We all come from different stories, trajectories, and experiences. And to be able to make music, it's such a gift and such a magical experience. So I don't take that for granted. I actually celebrate that and talk about that all the time at my shows. I am half Dominican, half Mexican, raised in Puerto Rico. My father was a mariachi singer. I fell in love with music. I loved the way that he would connect with people through these really simple melodies, but very passionate stories he was telling through these songs. And so I've always dreamt of being able to connect to people in that way, on that level. And so I've always loved music. I've always been very passionate about it. And so I started playing violin. I started singing in a choir in Puerto Rico. And then eventually, after high school, I moved to New York. And I started kind of finding myself. I was really young. I was 17, just graduated from high school in Puerto Rico. Imagine coming from a small island and then coming to this craziness in New York. I didn't know anyone, but I was excited to be here, and I was excited to learn and receive all this diversity that exists in New York. And so I could say that I really took advantage of that. And New York became my school, obviously, other than the university. I really went out there. I put myself out there and started jamming with tons of musicians, and I would try to improvise on my violin, which was something that I really, really wanted to do and wanted to achieve at some point, to be able to be like my heroes. I mean, I'm not there musically, but hopefully someday, like Regina Carter and Stephen Grappelli. And so I love all kinds of music, and I feel like being in New York really allowed me to grow in that way. And then eventually in 2008, I started Flor de Toloache, which is New York City's first all-female mariachi. I had been doing mariachi for like 10 years prior to that. I did traditional mariachi for a long time, and I was one of the only women doing mariachi for that whole time in the scene in New York City. Obviously, in other states like California, Arizona, and Mexico, there's a lot of other women doing mariachi, but in New York, it was fairly new. And so I was one of the only ones. And so a lot of times I felt a little alone. I felt obviously discriminated. So it was very rare to see an Afro-Latina doing mariachi, especially at that time. And so I started noticing those type of conversations popping up. Which it didn't really occur to me growing up because my mom is Black, my mom's Afro Dominican, and she would always talk about how proud she is of being that, and she would do that through songs as well. And so for me, it was never a really big issue, or it wasn't a conflict. And so coming to New York and then being in the Mexican community and then understanding all those complexities that exist through our communities also really was something very new for me. And but it was a beautiful thing. Obviously, it's the conversations that are needed to have, that we needed to have, that we continue to need to have. And I understood that I was in the position to represent that. And so I took that very seriously. I till this day, and I feel like through Flores de Oroache, have been able to represent my community in Afro Latinos, but also Latina per se, just in general, and um, lead a mariachi that's diverse and progressive musically, and just these group of women coming together through this really male dominated uh, and very very traditional, very purist, and to come together in New York City and then create this beautiful free thing. It has been really cool to see what kind of impact it has had, but also it really highlighted how much of these groups like Flor de Toroche are needed. You know, if we didn't exist, I think that we would have another group of people expressing themselves like that, because that's the direction we're going. And so that's part of my mission as an artist, as an Afro Latina singer, as a Mexican Dominican Puerto Rico Boricua artist. I try to represent that in the music as well, but also kind of break those barriers of having to think in a certain way and having to place a stamp on something, or put something in a box where this needs to sound this way, or this needs to be seen or expressed in this way. And so I feel like music is not that, is actually quite the opposite. And music is an expression, is an extension of someone, of all of us. And I feel like, I think we're all kind of in the same boat, and the same we have the same vision, and we approach music in the same way, which I feel like that's why also the universe has put us together to collaborate. And it's a powerful thing. I really appreciate Sofia for allowing us to come together to do that. And I know this is one of many things that we will probably do together.
I think so, and I hope so, because it's been very inspiring for me too. And I think although we do so, like, our styles of music and in our individual projects are so different from one another, I do agree with you that we do share a vision in the way we make music, and in the way we approach people, and in the way that we also fight for, against the stereotype of what Latin music is or should be. And I think that's very important. We are always, just by doing what we do, I think we are making a statement every day. We are really fighting the stereotype, the dominated environment of just one prototype that needs to be, Latin music has to be danceable, or it has to be with a beautiful, sexy lady. It has to be with a red flower in your hair. It has to be with this or that. It has to be one color or another. And I think each of us, from our own worlds, from our own perspectives, we have been really, really going at it and fighting against that, just by existing in the world, by presenting our own music and keep going at it without bending towards whatever else we're supposed to do to fit in better, or to fit in easier. And I really recognize you too as fighters. I see you, we talk, and I'm like, I get excited because I know everything that you had to go through to be where you are right now, and I see it and I appreciate it.
Well, that's very interesting. And I think what I hear from what you three are saying is that there's an amazing challenge, because we'll talk about folk and futurism, but it feels like a few words put together, but the meaning is pretty deep, because you have, first of all, to make people understand where you come from. And this is not necessarily easy, but people know very few sometimes about the countries and the culture that you come from. So not only do you have to teach about that culture, but also show people that you're a young person and whatever's been done before is in your blood now, but you also aspire to do something completely different and new. And you have a total right to bring the heritage of the rest of the world, the music that has come to your ears and that you grew with. So I think we're starting to get questions from the Q&A, and thank you, people, because this is really interesting, and this is exactly goes well with the topic we're discussing right now, this question that seems to be addressed to you, Sofia, but I guess everybody can have a take on this one. Is it hard to find a common musical language with such a diverse group from so many different countries? What do you guys think?
I'll say just a little thing, but I'll let you also talk about it. I think what's interesting is that we are not trying to me personally, I'm not trying to predefine a sound. If I do that, I cannot be surprised. I am gonna have to mold it before actually I let some creation have its own life. And I think what's beautiful about this music, and hopefully you'll get to hear it, is that it went into many different directions, yet somehow when you listen to all the songs, they do have a commonality. And I think part of that, as Mireya was putting in her words, expressing what happens in New York City, because we also are in this crazy town, there is this kind of like magical mini Latin America that happens here that doesn't exist anyplace. Because here I was able to connect with so many things Latin American that were very far away from my Latin American perspective as a porteña in Buenos Aires. And I think all of that, I gained that perspective, that more Pan-American, more Latin crossover perspective by making music in New York with so many of these different artists. And I think the connection, I don't know a lot about Afro-Cuban music. I know enough so that I can make something, for instance, with Daymé, and perhaps find actually something new out of the combination of the two forces that we are. Actually, something very interesting happened when we put together the song that we created together. We were in a hotel room in Miami, and I brought an idea that started to develop a little bit too long, and I kind of had a finished song pretty much, and I brought it to her thinking, well, what are we gonna do with this? And she was like, well, that's already kind of done, let's do something else, let's see. And we picked a little part of a song that I started that to me was kind of more on the pop planet, like very melancholic and very soft and very light, with a very deep sense of solitude and trauma. And she picked on that. It was like, that one, let's just start something on that one. And it would have been the last thing I would have thought Daymé would get excited about, knowing the music she makes, which is also very diverse. But I was like, okay, great, let's do something. And all of a sudden, this thing happened. And then I actually, because we're just talking about it, I want to play you a little bit of the song. And then Daymé can tell you, about this magic thing that happened there, because it's very, very special. So I'm going to share a little bit of a song called Zigzag. So bear with me. So we started with, I didn't play the full song. I can't play the full song for many reasons, but that you have to come on the 10th, you see, and then you'll get to see it. But I wanted Daymé to talk about, so the song starts with something very melancholic and two voices that, well, you can tell them all about it. But then this heavy beat, it's what you started hearing when I started the magic of JC in production here, and we've been working so hard and crafting songs from scratch, really. And I was like, we need the sound of a thunder there. We really need to find that. We literally played with the beat of a thunder, and then I found out about this lovely story.
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting because when Sofia invited me to make the song together, I mean, I believe in the power of music, and I believe I believe that music talks to me, and it tells me what's the sound, what's the message. So I just said to her, just play whatever ideas you have. I know when I listen what's the one that I'm gonna do. Like I don't need you to explain me or convince me. Music is gonna tell me which one we should pick. And I remember when I heard the zigzag idea, it was really pretty raw. It was just her voice and some sounds. I felt my internal voice singing and sounding. I was like, okay, it's this one because I hear myself singing in this song. We traveled through different vibes. Whenever you get the chance to listen to the music, you're gonna see it's a really experimental song, and we go from this place to this place to this other place, which I love because that's for me what music is. Music don't really know boundaries. We humans, we know boundaries, and we try to limitate music, but music doesn't know limitations. So I remember listening to that solitude, that loneliness, and that sadness that the song was expressing to me, way more than the lyrics or anything. I felt like a sadness inside the song. So I started getting connections with the Orishas and the Yoruba tradition that we have in Cuba, that is related to human beings, is related to feelings, is related to nature. So each Orisha is related to a color, to a feeling, to a power of and the nature, but also to human stories. So when I heard all of that, I felt like the power of Oya, which is an Orisha, is a female Orisha, is the Orisha of the storm, is the Orisha of the rain, is the Orisha of the how do you call the tornado, is an Orisha that doesn't have color, and she has the 9 colors of the rainbow. So she can go from this from no color to all colors. Like it's a lot of power as a woman, but also she is the woman that is described as a warrior. The male figure of the war is Chango, which is the thunder. So she is also this, I don't know how to say this in English, but there is the thunder and the centella. How do you say that? How do you say that in English? It's like two different things. The thunder is like, and the centella is like this light that comes after.
Relámpago.
Relámpago, yeah.
I don't know the word in English.
I don't know that word in English, but it's like two. English is really limited. Like we in Spanish, we have many words, a word for everything. English is more practical. But these two phenomena, like that you see, first like the thunder and then this light that comes after, that's Oya too. So it was so interesting because I didn't explain any of this to to Sofia, I just proposed, okay, let's sing this chant, this Yoruba chant in the middle. We did it. We did like a craft, or like a draft or something, and then when we got together again in New York a few weeks ago, she said to me about the thunder sound, that she really wanted the thunder sound. I was like, whoa, let me tell you this story, because she didn't know at all that
I had no
audition
idea.
was related to the thunder. And I do believe a lot in the nature and the power of music in nature. I believe music is just the way we connect with nature. Also is a nature imitation. Like we as humans, we try to imitate the whole environment through music. So when I heard about that connection, that she was thinking about exact the same image that Oyardi represents, the sadness and the thunder, and at the very end, the sadness becomes like
The calm after the storm, the healing,
the healing of the rainbow. So the harmony change and everything. I felt the power of music. So I feel this song might not be a song that everybody understands, because, as I said, it's very experimental. But it's a honest process. It's an honest song.
That's right.
Thank you, Daymé. That was an amazing experience to do this piece of music. I think we should listen to a little piece of the song that was made with Mireya. We have an interesting question that came in also, and maybe that's going to help us also answer that question. That question is, do all the artists involved have a background in the traditional music of their culture? And was that a consideration when you were thinking about who you wanted to work with? I think that's the question is for you, Sofia, again.
I'm going to think about it while I play you a little bit of this song. But yes, I will be happy to answer that. So this one actually doesn't have a title. So if you want to write in the Q&A some ideas, I have a temporary title. I'm not even going to share because I don't like it yet. And this song features Mireya singing. And it was inspired in the story of Manuelita Sáenz, La Libertadora del Libertador, the lover of Simón Bolívar. But then when I did the lyrics, I'm like, well, this is the story of thousands and thousands of women across history. So I thought to bring her story, to tell the story of so many people that were erased from the history of relevant things that happened globally, just because they were women. So it's a powerful, it has a powerful chorus, and you'll be singing it on Thursday. Let's see.
And I don't know which part you're going to play, but I know that this song's also, just like the one with Daymé, goes all over the place. It has 3 different tonalities, and let's let me see what you're going to choose.
Si una cae, otra se levanta. Si una cae, otra se levanta. Si una cae, otra se levanta. Dicen que muchos la han visto, que sola vende su sueño errante, queen's allergic, king's lethargic, que su voz hiere a ministros, que su palabra cae como plomo, estirada y arrogante, que se ríe a carcajadas, que perturba refinados, no conoce de modales, comandante de huracanes, enemiga de las bestias que fabrican el guión perverso. Así se escribió la historia y así se repite el cuento. Así se escribió la historia. farsantes.
Yeah, Mire.
Well, I must say that a little bit of Cuba is in that song too, right? Because we had Pedrito Martinez playing the congas here, so you see
But
Daymé.
there you have the answer too. I don't think that, I mean, I know that each of them are absolute masters of the music of, you know, in the case of Daymé, Afro-Cuban music, but she knows so much more than that. Same is true for Mireya. I know they can do anything. I have heard these women sing soul music like nobody else, neo, soul, R&B, pop music. They can just go at it, and I know that, and that's why I want them to be, you know, in the project, because I know they are versatile. I know that they want to experiment different things. So this song is a bit of a cumbia. It has like a tumbao in the middle, but it goes many places. We didn't get there, actually. We didn't get to the many places to show that.
Yeah,
I didn't think of, oh, we're gonna do a mariachi song because I'm going to invite Mireya and we're gonna do a mariachi song together. I didn't think in those terms, and I'm glad I didn't, because that's when surprises happen as well. And I mean, she shines in anything I've heard her doing, and this was not the exception. So Miren, no sé qué quieras compartir.
I think that Mireya, I don't see her anymore. I think to start answer that question, there's something that is very interesting to say, is that it's not because you are born somewhere that you know everything about your own culture. Knowing your culture requires to everyone a little bit of work to go deeper, because there's always generations and generations of people before you who passed away. And there's always a lot of information that has been lost, and everyone to really feel comfortable with your culture, it requires work, requires an effort to go back in time and travel also sometimes through your island, specifically Cuba, which is a very big island. My island, Guadeloupe, is much smaller, but I can tell you that even on a small island like this, there's so much diversity in the way people play the music or their story or even the language. From in a small island that you can just travel from one end to the other in 3 hours or in 2. So that's the first part of the question. I think it's important to say. I think we lost Mireya, so she's not going to be.
She'll probably be back. I agree with what you're saying, and I think is absolutely right. It requires an effort. It's super important that and all of us individually, I think we were curious enough to do that work and to make it also a priority in our lives as musicians, to really know what was before us, what was out there, what were the traditions, and also understanding that folk music is ever evolving. That's not a stagnant thing, that does not have a beginning and an end in time, that is not a static concept, that's constantly evolving. And hopefully we're creating right now this idea of the folk of the future. But I believe in that, because if you pay attention, you just have to pay attention and listen and know how all the people that came before us were feeling about their innovations and creations. And it's a constant influx of information and ideas that are moving across the world, and more than ever right now, because we don't even have to move from our couches to even experience the rest of the world. We're just getting it every single second. And if we are in New York City, well, you know what I'm talking about. So Mireya is back. Mireya, ¿quieres compartir algo con nosotros?
Perdón, sorry.
Well,
I got kicked out.
yes.
No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I got cut off, but was there a particular question?
We were talking about the fact, like, do all the artists involved have a background in their own culture? We were starting to explain that it's important to, every artist has to make an effort, and it's a work to to dig into your own culture, even if you're born somebody in somewhere, even if your family is involved in music, even if you're born in the right neighborhood, there's always information that is lost that you have to go back to retrieve. And you, Mireya, you've created a lot of collaborations, a lot of projects of collaborations. So can you tell us what you were looking in these collaborations, and did you specifically pick the artists you work with just like with that in mind, or was it more about the curiosity and the way people are excited about going somewhere else than their comfort zone?
I think it's a little bit of both, right? There are sometimes that I particularly had someone in mind because of the music that they make or the sound that they have or what they represent as well and what they speak about. But also there are times where I'm just curious where it would go. But always if you are approaching music in that way where you're excited about it and you are not putting any limitations to it and you're a person that connects to music freely, I think that there's always a curiosity. It doesn't matter who you're working with. Magical things can happen when both ends are really just open to it. And it's the same as having a conversation with someone and you don't know where it's going to lead to. It could lead to great things. It could lead to a lesson. It could lead to not so great things that could later on lead to great things, So it's the same with music. I would say it's an experience. It's something that it's a gift to experience. But one of the things I wanted to also say that with this song that we chose to do, or the Sofia thought of me of doing, I feel like I see myself in that story because in creating Flor de Toloache, an all-female group from New York City, we've of course had many challenges as women, as we can all speak about, that we continue to have. And I feel like as an Afro-Latina leading a mariachi, it's been very difficult for me to break into that world. And I feel like a lot of the impact and contributions that we've done are not highlighted at all, and possibly will maybe never be, or maybe it'll be later on. I mean, and I don't do music for that reason, but I feel like that happens a lot. And that's why it's important to continue to tell our stories through our songs, because songs are timeless. Even when I'm gone, somebody can find one of my songs later on and be empowered by that. And I think that's even more valuable than anything that I do now in life. And so I like Daymé said, like a song or your voice or music is a power, and I think that is the power of that. And that's why I see myself in the story. I think that this particular character and woman was probably extremely contributed so much to the way he thought, the things that he did, decisions that he made, even more so things that we will never know. And it was completely erased, and we'll never know that, or maybe we'll find out. But the fact that we don't know, and there's so many women, key women, that have literally changed the world and are not known. And so, not saying that I'm one of those, just saying that I kind of see myself
you are.
in that.
Well, someone is asking you exactly that question. Like, how did the more traditional mariachi community respond to the creation of the Flor de Toloache? How did?
Yeah, well, to this day, it's still a conflict. We are always a topic of conversation. We are always, oh, but that's not mariachi. But then how can you define something that has no limitations? Obviously a tradition is important to preserve, but the evolution of something is also important. And so both things can coexist, and they must coexist. Otherwise, we're not moving forward. But also, it's also important to recognize what came before. So, both ends are important. And Flor de Toloache is always like, oh, so what? The people don't know how to define it, but that is the whole point. You don't have to define it, right? we are a group of women coming together, doing things that in mariachi that nobody had maybe the courage to do because it's so traditional, and it has all these rules implemented by men and by people, and even women contribute to that, unfortunately, and they perpetuate that kind of behavior and that kind of mentality. And so they feel threatened by the fact that we exist, and that people are even connecting to that music. But if we didn't exist, a lot of people wouldn't even consider mariachi um, to be a form of music that they will listen to, you know, or they would even connect to. A lot of women now feel the freedom to wear mariachi pants, something so very simple as that, you know, and that's because of the fact that we wear mariachi pants for so long, and made that a trend, if you will, right? And now a lot of female mariachis are wearing pants, and that you would never see that 15 years ago. So
Well, we are part of a series here with the World Music Institute, the Changemaker series, right? I didn't know we were going to be placed there, honestly, but it feels like because of you and the work that, you know, collectively you're doing, we're in the right spot in terms of, you know, trying to, to push through all these barriers and hopefully finding a better way to make these changes, to see the change that we want, that we've been wanting to see and we've been fighting to see for so long. And I think little by little it's happening. Now you start with it starts with a pair of pants, but then so many things can come after that. Or it could start with a song, and it could be hopefully inspiring to many people. I really appreciate you so much, and I appreciate everybody that came together in this album. I just want to see also appreciate JC very much, because, you know, this music wouldn't exist without him. We've been working on these songs to answer to one of the questions that I see in the Q&A. We've been working on these songs. JC is the producer of the record. We've been working on this for a long time, crafting. This is a project, musically speaking, that combines a lot of electronics, a lot of electronic elements and electronic crafted instruments, digitally crafted instruments with acoustic instruments, with traditional instruments in combination with instruments that don't even exist. And that's the beauty for us, you know, being able to craft something that feels very, that represents us right now in 2024. That's a sound that we vibe with, that connects us with, you know, how we perceive the world right this moment, right now, not yesterday. And he made an incredible job at, crafting all this with me and putting it together. And I really appreciate you, JC, and thank you for it. So I don't know if you want to say something also. I know we have a couple more minutes. I do want to answer the question about what's happening in the 10th with the collaborators, but maybe you want to share something about the production.
Yes, I just want to say something very simple. It's not easy for people maybe to understand that there's a lot of electronic music things that have been done in the past. I think when our point of view is pretty different, because in any case, and that, for example, was the case in every song that we played, and for example, yours, Daymé, was exactly the case. We recorded the song, but none of the percussion, none of the beat part of the song was to be made before we had a real bata player coming to play it. So it's not like we have to make the electronic how should I say that? We have to make the electronic become the musician, and not the musician become the electronic. And that is a real challenge.
That's the challenge, exactly.
Challenge.
Yes.
So the question that we were asked is, it sounds like the recordings were with each artist was done separately.
That's
Will
right.
the show at LPR Yeah, that's right.
I mean, this as a record, it started, it has moved throughout. I have done some of these collaborations. I have recorded in Buenos Aires, in Cordoba, in Bogota. We started the song with Daymé in Miami. I flew to LA to record with Gaby Moreno, who's going to be on Thursday in the show, with Mireya, and we recorded in New York. So it's like it's really a multiple city and multiple country endeavor, but that's why it took so long, and I'm so excited to finally bring most of the collaborators. We're missing 2 of them, unfortunately, for this one show. I hope that we will get them all together for whenever we release the record. But right now, this is actually the first time that we all get together, and also that we will sing together for you. So we are very excited. Oh, there's another question. That's a good question. So somebody's asking if this project has impacted my curriculum at NYU. And the answer is always going to be yes. First of all, I teach at NYU multiple classes in the performance and musicianship area. I am part of the faculty of the Clive Davis Institute. I'm a full-time professor. And I teach a class that's very dear to me, that I developed, that's called New Perspectives in Latin Music, because I wanted to bring the newer, the fresher, the all these beautiful things I'm hearing out there, because I get so excited about it. I'm like, I want to share it with my students. I want them to know what's happening out there, that they really are not aware of the diversity, the wealth of music that's out there in the Latin world. And I had the pleasure of presenting Daymé, for instance, last semester, and everybody just keeps asking me about you every time, like I say, oh, who's Daymé? Oh my God, Daymé. The other day you came to record and we just crossed, in the hallway, one of my students, and he gave her a hug. He was so excited to see her, because these are women that are making an impact in the younger generation too. And I want them to share their stories, and I want my students to feel inspired and see that that's possible to be a female songwriter, to be a female producer, to be a female activist, to be out there in the world, be leaders in our communities, in whatever we're doing, and see that's possible. And I'm sure they're going to take it so much further than whatever we did or whatever we are doing. So yes, it impacted my curriculum also, because I'm learning with them and I'm seeing other possibilities, and then that gets reshaped every time I have to change, or I have to bring something different in presenting, for instance, the history of Cuban music. Right now, maybe I am going to research more about something about Oya and other Yoruba traditions, and bring that to my class. And in the same manner that I'm hoping my students are going to come to see this show, and it will be for those that are from Latin America or that have a connection with Latin American music, I'm sure an eye-opener, but for any of them to see that this type of coming together is also a possibility, and what can stream from it, that we're creating is a concert, but also hopefully is a bit of a platform of sharing and connecting with each other, and collectively empower each other, and bring a little bit of these stories to you, to the world together. For me, that's it's been always a bit of a mission, and I'm so glad that it's been a lot of work. I'm not going to deny that. But it's just so beautiful that it's finally happening. And I cannot wait to share it with all of you.